Hey folks, Kyle here, Ace Desert. Welcome back to yet another video. So for today's video, I thought we'd do a little lesson that I have based on an idea a friend gave me, and that is we're gonna do a lesson today on different types of cubids. What are kind of like the main sorts of cubids that come up in a bridge auction? And what do all the different cubids like on a fundamental level? Like, what do I think a good like simple definition is? Now this is actually probably a more advanced video than you might think. So for those brand new to bridge, a cubid is a case where you might bid the opponent's suit. So for example, I just have this hand editor up. And the idea of this hand editor is don't really look at what the hands are. I'm just going to show you like different possible auctions in the middle of the screen. So like for example, this is like a very common cubid sequence. East opens a club, South bids a spade, and West bids South suits, South bids two spades. So like this is a simple example of what a cubid is. It's just bidding on the opponent's suit. Usually it's bidding the opponent's first bid suit, but we'll see in some of these examples that that is not always the case. So I thought we'd go through. Basically, I wrote down going through this. I came up with like basically the 7 main sorts of cubid situations. So the first and most common cubid, that everyone kind of universally agrees on to like a meaning of what it should mean, is responder's cubid. And in this case, responder's cubid is your partner is opened, and responder is the partner of the opening bidder. So if East opens, West is responder, and this is responder's direct cubid after an overcall. So basically in every agreed case, this is like a fundamental basic thing that all new players learn, is that a cubid of opener suit shows a limit raise with usually enough support to have an 8-card fit. So if partner opens a minor, usually it's good 4 or 5-card support for partner suit. And limit raise are better values. So if partner has, let's say you open all 12 counts is your minimum opening, then a limit raise generally shows about 11 support points for the partner suit. Not necessarily high card points per se. So, when you have a known fit, there's things such as dummy points. I believe people use different evaluations, but like the simple dummy points in the Audrey Grant book are like 1, 3, 5 for different types of shortness. So 1 point for a doubleton, 3 for a singleton, and 5 for a void. You can use dummy points or like points for like a 5+ card or longer suit, but you can't use both. Some people for opening the bidding before fit is found use 1, 2, 3 points for shortness rather than 1 point for each additional suit at 5 or more cards. But dummy points are used specifically by a responder in evaluation to finding a known fit with partner. So this is the basic cubid, responder's cubid. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. The second case I wanted to was advancer's cubid to an overcall. So this is a different situation. So let's think about this situation. So in the basic situation, it's also thinking about like what bids are forcing and what bids are not. So now we're going to get into responder's cubid after an overcall. So this is going to look fairly similar. But this time, partner of the overcaller is queuing. So we got a simple 2-club queue. Now in practice, this is often the same thing. So usually advancer's queue is a 3-card like type limit raise, type hand, and a forcing bid, and a forcing raise. But sometimes you get into awkward situations. Like for example, I think this is, hold on. I'm freaking this out. No, we don't want to shuffle cards. But for example, like let's say the auction is a little bit more like congested. Like for example, this auction, like a 2-level cubid where opener can rebid their suit where overcaller can rebid their suit at the 2-level. That often isn't like so bad because partner can default rebid to their suit, and you're forcing up 1 level. That's usually not so bad, but like particularly cubids like this that force partner to the 3-level, these can get more awkward. And so we get into like, does this cubid always promise a fit? And it sort of depends on the other bids available to you. So when when we open and partner's responding rather than an overcall and partner advancing, you have a lot more as the opening responding pair. You have a lot more tools available to make a forcing bid, because when you open, you're unlimited at 21 points. You promise an opening hand, which an overcall doesn't always promise, depending if it's at the 1 or 2 level. Additionally, responder has forcing bids other than a Q. They can bid a new suit, which is always forcing in standard. You can make a negative double, which is generally forcing at low levels, or some sort of reopening double. So these bids are generally like easier. You always have a forcing bid available. Whereas if you think of what options partner has available to like an overcall, particularly like a 2-level overcall where a lot of space is taken up, you can see you might fundamentally have some problems. Most people play new suits as non-forcing constructive, which meaning like if I have my own long suit and I bid it, partner's gonna pass. Now you can handle this by doing other things. So like what's a jump in a new suit to partner's overcall? Most people, I don't even know really what a standard is. You could play that as a fit bid, showing support for partner's suit and lengthen another suit. You could play single jump as splinter, which is not very common. Most people will still play like a double jump as splinter. You could play single jump as just a very good suit and nearly forcing or forcing, depending on your agreement. So like, what is, like a diamond, a spade, pass, 3 clubs, like you have to have agreements. This is where there is not like a universal standard. So like, and I'll tell you a common hand type that I think does often fold into a Cuebid after an overcall, is big balanced without a stopper. So for example, they open a spade and we overcall 2 hearts. Let's say I just randomly have a 17 count in this auction. I have a 17 count. I have 3 or 4 small spades to the 8, and I have a doubleton heart, and I'm like 4-4-3-2 in shape. So like that hand has to bid something, right? Like you have game. You can't bid a 4-card suit here, and even if you did, that's not forcing. Partner might pass. So like sometimes you just have to invent a bid. So the Cuebid by Advancer generally is all hands that show support, but then it also contains for sure some bigger balanced hands. And maybe there's an argument to be made of some other near balanced hands that don't have a forcing bid, can't bid game. Occasionally you might be stuck. Like you could be 4x1 with a stiffened partner suit, maybe. Though that's probably bidding no trump unless you have like 4 small in the suit the opponents are bidding. So logically a Cuebid can't always show support. Sometimes it's just like a big near balanced hand that is looking for strain. So we call Cuebids here is like a strain finding bid, really more than anything. It's a strain finding, forcing bid where you don't always have the best options. So that's case 2. I think that's an important case. The third case that I think is really important to talk about, and this is a more common and it's probably the most complex of all of the cases I'm going to show you, so don't feel bad if you've never thought about this partner, is what is a Cuebid to partner's takeout double? So let's undo this auction. Let's say the auction goes a spade, double, pass, 2 spades. What does 2 spades show? Now, there's a lot of interesting ideas here. So this is not a Lebensall situation because they open at the 1 level. But this potentially might be for your system if you're like reopening over a week 2. There's some interesting theory about that. There can definitely be lots of interesting variants on this problem. But like fundamentally, like what does a 2 spade bid show here? Well, partner could have bid any new suit, simple new suit to show like 0 to 7 points and a flat hand. Not much interesting game. Partner could have jumped in a new suit. Partner could have jumped a game in a suit. They could have bid 4 hearts, 5 clubs, 5 diamonds. What's a weird double jump? Like 4 clubs or 4 diamonds, is that forcing? Like, you might want to fill in some agreements here. So typically in my world, when I see a queue like this, it's either like a game forcing hand with 4 or 5 of the other major, or it's like any like good. It could be like just a tremendous balanced hand without a stopper, like looking for a fit. This could be like a minimum game force, probably with only 5 of like an unbid suit, but like wanting to just like flag a fit. So when I was doing some research on this, because this came up in like a junior training I had a few months to like a year ago, and it was a good question. And what I found is that Bridge World Standard here, this comes from the Bridge World magazine. They play that a Cuebid is simply just a forcing bid that is forcing to a suit being bid and raised. So for example, let's say I'm opener. So like I'm probably gonna bid my 4 card suits up the line after my takeout double. So like let's say I have 4 clubs. And Bridge World Standard is that this is forcing into a suit agreement. So like after this 4 club bid, partner can bid a forcing 3 diamonds. They could bid a forcing 3 hearts, which would show like 4 hearts. And partner cannot pass this according to Bridge World Standard. Or the only non-forcing bid they can make is like bidding game or raising to 4 clubs, which would now show like an invitational, like 4 card club raise, basically. So that's how I recommend you play the Cuebid. I think it's a pretty good agreement. I've adopted into my partnerships, and it stopped a lot of these like weird, awkward jumps. These get a little bit more confusing. Like an auction that came up with like a newer player I'm doing some practice with is like something like this. Like what's this auction? So like when both majors are available, there starts to become a question of like this promise both majors, like particularly a bid like this, like a queue that's only at the 2 level where like partners bidding their initial suit to your queue. Like this is more likely to be passable, debatably. Like maybe partner is just constructive if both majors. Like so the question is like, can a diamond double pass 2 diamonds pass 2 major be passed? Maybe you would jump to 3 major here or something like that. I think if partner's a passed hand, so my agreement with my partners is usually if partner's a passed hand in the queue, is just looking for strain, which is totally fine. But if partner's a non-passed hand, I would expect this to be forcing at least a round. Partner has to at least raise. If you're like a weaker hand with both majors, you would just bid one, then bid the other. Basically, to this auction, you could have just bid 1 spade, and then later bid 2 hearts. The auction's not gonna die. That's if you're equal length in the majors. If you're like 5 spades, 4 hearts, or 5 hearts, 4 spades, you might bid a heart and then later spades. Maybe if you're like constructive to good invitation, if you're more invitational, maybe you queue right away to look for fit. So these are just like some ideas of what this queue looks like. I think this is a very undiscussed place. I think maybe top experts are talking about this in new pickup partnerships potentially. But I think this is a much like under-discussed place that is good to have quality knowledge on. So let's move on to case 4. Now we're just gonna move on to like some common cases that are more beginnerish, but like I think not everyone's always on the same page, particularly with case 5 we're gonna get to. Case 4 is a very familiar case if you are beyond like the very most basic beginner level. And that's the Michael's Cuebid. So what's a direct queue to 2 diamond, like 1 diamond, 2 diamonds? This is not very useful as natural. Double is takeout. So like, how do you show diamonds? Most people play the jump like 1 diamond past 3 diamonds as like weak diamonds. Most people play the direct queue of opener suit, rather a minor or major, as showing the 2 highest suits. Or not necessarily the 2 highest suits. So most people play this. So most people play a minor, 2 minor, as the majors, and most people play a major, 1 major, 2 major overcall as other major and either minor. Or if you're like European, you can play them as showing a specific 2 suitor and then do something else for the other one. Like you could play this specifically 2 highest. You can use like there's like unassuming queue. Like you could use like a spade jump over call 3 clubs as like the third other major whatever combination. So you could have like a spade 2 no overcall. Unusual be the minors. You could have 1 spades 2 spades be say hearts and diamonds, and then you could have a spade 3 clubs be clubs and hearts. You can have like 3 ways to show all specific to suitors that are like 5/5 or better and just competitive. But most people play this as the Michael's Cuebid. I don't know the full history of the Michael's Cuebid or how this became common, but it's definitely an empty bid in your system, and you want to play it as something. I've played some fun overcall structure stuff where this promises like touching suits, like for the touching major, and like so this would show like 4 hearts and 5 clubs, any range, and then you can have some fun advances to that. These are kind of hard to do. So like standard Michael's Cuebid. The one that the option 5 on my list is just balancing cues, or particularly this is a common sequence I see everyone at the club that's like not a good player generally get wrong. And the question is like, what is two diamonds here? And so, for example, like, okay, what the hell? Okay, whatever. Okay, so we recentered the dealer here. Okay, so I see a lot of players get this wrong. I think it redealt the hands. That's funny. Uh, actually, let's make it a spade. Okay. So I see a lot of players get this wrong, mostly at the club level. It's like, what is the cue in balancing seat? Usually after like a one major response by partner. And the correct answer that most experts play, at least in the U.S., is that bidding two of opener's minor is natural. So like you don't need this to show hearts and clubs, the other two suits. You don't need this to be like a Michaels type bid because you can just double is responsive showing the other two suits. Especially like in some people as a passed hand, and then like bidding one no also shows the on bid suits. So like you don't need this to be like a two suited bid. You have other options because they've not bid like more than one suit. So this is universal. Like I pretty much think this should universally be played as natural. This is another question. Let me show you the other important one, and that is, what is a diamond, a spade, two spades? And my recommendation, this is the same. Basically, I think this is pretty much like standard American top expert logic. I don't know if this differs slightly in other parts of the world, but most people, you should play this also as natural. Particularly like responders showing a four card suit, but like you don't really care. Is the general guess. Like you could just have I mean these are often like good six card suits because the opponents have shown length in the suit. So you're not just doing this on any suit, I should say. But like these are just both common spots to play natural, and I see players get them wrong all the time. Um, you can think a little bit different. Like what if it goes, um, like pass pass, like two diamonds still should be natural. Um, I guess you can talk about like this auction too. Like what if it's a spade, pass pass, two spades. Now this should be artificial because they've shown five. If they've shown five or more cards in a suit, like it has to be artificial, right? Like, so this one is not like trying to trick you. This one, should be conventional. Probably is trying to show like, good hearts and, a 5 card minor. So that's a good case. The other case is like these. Next, we kind of get into like these other two common kind of cubids, which are like jump cubids, which can either be Western or Splinter. I also want to talk about weird cases where opener might cubid. So I have this auction written. So I wrote down a bunch of auctions in the sheet as I was prepping the ideas for this video. So this auction is, let's just write this down. So I was trying to do this in the hand editor because I thought it'd be cleaner just to see visually than my, Google Doc presentation. I know that's not very exciting. So like my example auction, I think was like one minor. They bid a spade. We double. Let's say they raise. What's opener's cue of three spades, for example, here? I think is like one version. Like what the hell is this? So this is like in the family of what's known usually as like a Western cue. So this is probably like some 20-point hand or like some 15, 16 plus hand with a source of tricks. And the only thing partner really cares about here is, do we have like the ace or king of spades or like queen jack third? Do we have a spade stopper? Like, given that I have like nothing in spades, like partner, if you have something, like we have game, bid it, please. So this is like a common variation of a Western cue. Sometimes you'll see like sneaker auctions. This is like probably a bad example in that like the cue is like very high, so like that pretty much always has to be Western. But like you could have something sneaky like, let's say like this. Like what's this? Like they're queuing, we're queuing, like the queue double queue type auction. Like this is probably similar. or like sometimes you see something janky like a club of diamond pass. Well, yeah, this is probably I can't think of the auction I want to think of off the top of my head. But like you can see like same like this is like Western queues are generally like an obvious like 3 level queue where they've been in raise. Here this isn't so obviously looking for like a Western. Like they've shown a good spade raise, but sometimes the opponents are just screwing around here. Like maybe they're overcalling their 4 count. Maybe their good raise is like, a 7 count and 5 spades. So like this is more just like I have an 18 count partner. Like yes, we might be looking for 3-0, but this is just like they're full of shit bid. I have a huge hand, like almost reverse type values, at least in playing strength. Maybe I mean I'd probably assume this is like a good unbalanced hand with clubs, like and maybe 3 clubs direct is a bit more like weaker and competitive, just trying to show like a good club suit in there. But these kind of auctions are a little bit less clear if they're Western. So like a standard Western queue, just to like give a good example, because it's probably not the traditional like Western queue. A traditional Western queue might be like a heart, like 3 hearts, for example, might be a good example. Like this shows like probably a solid minor, and oh whoops, went past that. And asking partner like bid 3-0 with a heart stopper, please, is like kind of a classic Western queue. There's a Western queues also have a variation where 2 suits have been bid. So like for example, let's say it goes like double, a spade, pass, 2 hearts. And let's say opener bids like 3 hearts here. Normally like this shows a heart stopper. So when the opponents have bid like 1 suit, the cupid asks. When they've shown 2, the general rule is usually it shows. So I'm showing a stopper in the suit I'm queuing. And generally you have a place to go if they like W. Because you're not going to play in this strain. If partner doesn't have to have a stopper in the other strain, you're going to obviously play somewhere else. Like this is the general premise of a Western queue. I talked about jump over calls. So like a jump over call in a major is clearly a queue. I think I mentioned this earlier, but most people play a jump over call of openers minor, not as Western, but as like preemptive in that minor. So like this could be 3 cards and like a big balanced hand. So maybe this is like 7 clubs and weak. When I used to play transfer preamps, or particularly over like preamps of a minor versus preamps of a major, I used to play like very aggressive preamps in my old system, and I found that pros often recommended the defense of like a Cuebid to an opening preempt. I found pros often recommended the Cuebid of a minor preempt to be the majors, and that a Cuebid of a major preempt to be Western, to be stopper asking. This is a common defense I've often seen a pro tell their client to like various aggressive preempt styles I used to play. So that's worth keeping in mind too. I think that's a pretty good agreement. I play that with lots of my regular partnerships. And then the last common thing is like jump queues. So like, you probably know this, but jump queues are splinters. So like, this can't be asking for a club stopper. This shows club shortness and a spade. And spade support is kind of your normal splinters. Some people might play like a jump to the 5 levels, like exclusion key card. So like this might show like avoiding clubs basically, and asking partner to give a key card response excluding the ace of clubs. So there's fun things like that. So Cuebids are very interesting. They're a very good tool. You're not often going to want to bid the opponent's suit naturally, but we've seen some cases today where you do. And these are all good cases to be aware of. Like Cuebids is a complicated, interesting topic, but it's a very useful gadget. And it's kind of like a fundamental, even if you don't like to play many gadgets, it's kind of like a good fundamental one to have. Like even if your system is mostly natural, like these are very important, good, useful bids that you don't want to leave on the table. So it's good you and your partner, maybe discuss these like 7 common situations. So thanks for watching today's video. Hope you appreciated it. I have the sponsor for my videos for the month of blah. Where is my link? Sorry. There's sort of a sponsor for these videos for the next month. So I sort of mentioned my company, Landmark Financial, that I work for. This is not a recommendation of their services or whatever. This is not like finance advice. But they support this awesome charity, or they run this charity called like Climb to a Cure, which supports childhood cancer, and they're trying to get like $1 million a year for the next 10 years to fundraise. So if you want to support childhood cancer and have the money or capacity to give, just recommending this charity for the next month. It's good stuff, and we have fun fundraising goals for our department. So I'm trying. So if you want to help me be competitive against my coworkers, um, please help me do that. If you like the videos, um, so not trying to guilt anyone into doing that, but I think it is a good cause. So wanted to point that out. It's a nice charity. So anyway, thanks for watching today's video. Hope you're having a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.